We are here generating an economy of harmony, leveraging human design and genetic astrology. I'm going to talk about some of these genetics today and what we're going through, the change that we're going through. Welcome to Taurus season. The sun is in Taurus. Mercury Retrograde happened today in Taurus. All right. The shadow has been going on. The retrograde will continue until May 14th. The shadow will continue to May 31st. We're going to talk a little bit about BRICS today, what that is, the formation of these 5 countries. It began with 4 countries. It's now 5 countries. BRICS, B-R-I-C-S, Brazil, Russia, India, China, who's actually the biggest out of that whole conglomerate, and South Africa, who might low-key slow down the rest. But they got in. They do have resources. All of these places that I just named have resources. Russia has resources. Gas, one of the big ones, petroleum. India has resources. China is literally the one funding them all. All of this has to do with money, so stick with me. Hit the thumbs up in the meanwhile. South Africa, resources, gems, precious diamonds. China right now is the highest and has pretty much always been the highest and the most owned gold. So this talk today is about gold and silver as well. These are natural resources. What matters with these particular resources, and I want, before I even go any further, I want to say, like, off the rip, like, I'm not a financial expert, so don't believe I am. I do know excuse me, I do know astrology. I do know human design. I do know how to speak a little bit about the genetics. I do have an 8th house stellium. I do have a natural understanding about investments. But with that said, I'm not an astrologer. I'm not a financial advisor. So take all of that into account before we continue. All right, none of this is financial advice. In fact, I'm still waiting myself to see what astrology adds up and makes sense. What's up, y'all? As for when some of these prices will go down, particularly I'm looking at silver going down. Right now it's about $31. I think it's $25 on the sites, but for you to buy it, it's coming out. Most of these sites I'm looking at that are reputable, about $31 per ounce. All right. And just about September last year, 2022, it was at about $20. So there has been an increase. Now, why I'm speaking about that and why this is important today is that increase has come as a result of panic, as a result of hysteria, as a result of the sun and Taurus, our consciousness being put on our bank accounts, as well as the bank accounts globally around the world that are shifting, that are changing. The North Node is in Taurus. Mercury is now in Taurus. We just left Venus in Taurus. And so all this Taurus energy has us really starting to take a sincere look at what ways can we reasonably, logically, safely invest in something that is stable. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up. If you're brand new, hit the like button. If you want to hear more about astrology on the financial side, hit the like and the thumbs up button. I feel like this is a new thing birthing within me to actually speak about it rather than just do whatever the hell I do on my own behind closed doors. So if you are interested in this, let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos around this. So the formation of BRICS, what's essentially happening, what the attempt is to destabilize the dollar. And I'm in Mexico right now, and I can tell you, I think my last withdrawal, I got about 130 US dollars less. Now, with that said, I do take out the maximum amount when I take it, so I don't have to keep taking withdrawal fees and stuff like that. Thank you for the thumbs up button. But regardless, $130 less sucks. It just sucks. Let's be honest, like, part of living abroad outside the US to make US dollars outside is global arbitrage, let's be honest. And that is already weakening. The US dollar is weakening. It has been. You see a little bit of this preemptively happening in Europe, all right, where they're having their financial crisis, their financial issues, and a lot of that is because the time frame that Russia, who was a part of this BRICS, B-R-I-C-S, okay, there obviously the R in that, Russia pulled their contracts out with Europe. And when that happened, they stopped supplying their resources that they were a part of with the EU and yada, yada, yada on these splits. This is one of the reasons why that gap's happening. Now, another reason why the US dollar is going down right now is essentially when the US pulled its troops out. What's up, yo? When the US pulls its troops out of Afghanistan, a lot of this is close. My dad was fighting in Afghanistan. He was literally not just fighting, but also peacekeeping. You know, you call it what you want. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you will never know, even me, as a child of a military man. And, you know, when the U.S. got pulled out of Afghanistan, who was part of the protection system from freedom fighters, along with the Sunnis and the Shiites, and this is what's really major. We need to understand this. When they got pulled out, Saudi Arabia, oil companies, oil holders like Iraq, Iran, they lost their allyship, and it happened more so to them by surprise with no warning. And they were like, wow, you guys are here to protect us, and you pulled out. And so that's one of the major reasons why the US dollar is crashing drastically, because oil money is big money. Let's be honest. This is Taurus energy. We're talking resources. This is one of the resources of Taurus, right? Let me get my water. Oil, one of the biggest things that's cutting the dollar right now. The US dollar. The whole mission behind all of this is what's happening now. There are a couple major things you see. The Great Depression, 1971 was a big grand event, 1944 was a big grand event. And all these events are, what they're saying is there were certain laws put into place, and these laws have been broken by the US, and the US has shown their booty tail and not remained integral. And so, you know, one of the simple sayings, I've been listening to Robert Kiyosaki, forgive me for murdering his name, the rich dad, poor dad guy. And, you know, he's speaking about, and all of us understand with the sun and Taurus, all of us have our mind on this. Mercury retrograde, we're all starting to think about our bank account, all starting to think about where to put security, where to invest safely, where to invest stably, something that is long-term, something that's lasting, and something that we can systematically do. I personally don't see anything that's going to do that better right now than gold or silver. Now, with that said, thousandaires invest in silver to the best of my understanding and knowledge. Thank you for the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up. Thousandaires invest in silver. It's affordable to the common folk. And billionaires invest in gold. Okay, I'm not a billionaire, so we're gonna work with the silver. That's what I'm literally saying. There's two other main resources that you could work with. They're major in Russia. To be honest, they're about the same price, a little bit less than gold right now. I think at about $1,600 to invest in probably an ounce, and gold is about $2,000, $2,100. And so it's like, I don't have that to be invested in just in the loads. So different than that, silver, you're looking at about $25 up to about $31. And that has increased since, I think it was about $20 in September 2022. So just with Mercury there, allow our minds to start to be able to naturally conceptualize, like, there are going to be some fears around this because Mars is in Cancer. And so we have our ancestral fears around when our family members and generations prior to us have been in fear around financial crisis, around their home not being secure, their home being repoed, or you know, the real estate that they've invested in not being safe. And to help you better understand why all of this in currency in this discussion is becoming so major, and why I truly believe you all should wait, pause, is because there are two emotional centers right now that are open in channels in the human design. This is gate 35 and gate 36. That's one channel going from the throat, what we say, what we do, and the actions that we take, as well as connecting to the solar plexus, aka this wave of emotion that's just going up and down, and it is full of turbulence, emotional turbulence, specifically to bring humanity all to one place so that we can become more compassionate with each other. But different than that, there's this other side of this energy that makes us want to speak, talk, act, and move quickly, essentially causing a very emotional reaction and having an auric field of emotions being boundless right now, because Neptune in Pisces is exactly that. It's this boundless reach of you know, watery energy, deep subconscious energy. So what I'm saying is what have we done historically in times of financial crisis? Do your research. Look up everything I'm saying for yourself. I am not a financial advisor. Don't trust me. But hear what I'm saying, because to some degree, other than I need to clearly put that warning out, what I'm saying is just on point. And what I'm saying is this is the time frame where, while the solar plexus in human design is defined, we really must be willing to pause and wait before we go act on anything. So just because I'm saying gold and silver are going to be good investments, be mindful. Don't just go buy some tonight. Don't go buy some tomorrow. Wait until you're not on a high feeling a panic, or wait until you're not on the low feeling completely defeated and depressed because you're like, I don't know what to do. I've never done this. This is scary, yada, yada, yada. Wait till you hit a baseline. And from that position, do your research and make your investments from there. Now, what's the reason to invest in something like this? The main reason behind gold and silver, and I don't remember the correct financial term, is that you can physically have this, which is what Taurus wants, in your hand. This can be a gold or silver brick that you can have in your hand. And there's no liability with other people, companies that are holding that. So it's tangible is what I'm saying. It's not a piece of paper that is a promise to give you this gold at X, Y, and Z time frame. Essentially, that's what got the U.S. in trouble and what has them in this position where the rest of the world has come together and banned it. And I'm talking about 150 countries by the time this is said and done, and it's already really, very close there. There's 5 major ones, like I said: Brazil, Russia, India, China, who's the major backer and the #1 holder of gold right now, as well as South Africa. Now, Russia is up there in the highest standing of gold. What's happening is the U.S. dollar is not backed by gold anymore. And it has not been for a very, 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 very long time. So the U.S. dollar is essentially no different than paper. It's become trash. Literally, I laugh because when I was in California like 4 or 5 years ago, I seen this roll of toilet paper, and it was like Donald Trump. And he was like on the dollar. And they were saying like, and I have nothing against Donald Trump, but they were saying like they were using that roll of toilet paper to wipe their booty cheeks. And essentially, this was like a foreshadow of how much the dollar is worth right now. There's a simple saying that good money runs when bad money enters, something like that. So people who already have money, who are in the millions and billions, and they understand money, when bad money is infiltrated and pumped into the system or the ecosystem, the financial ecosystem that they were preemptively in, they take their chips and they get out of that, because they understand that the U.S. dollar has no integrity. They have consistently broken rules and laws. And what happened is the U.S. put sanctions on Russia, and that kicked Russia out of being able to use, if I'm not mistaken, MasterCard and Visas. Now, once that happened, the world, that was illegal. That was illegal. They didn't follow the rules and the laws that were set in place. And technically what they did was illegal. And this might have honestly been done intentionally and on purpose, and it was a bait move, and I feel like that bait move worked. Hit the thumbs up and the likes button. Now, what that means is that allows the world to see that the U.S. did not keep their promise, and it allows them to see that they have consistently not kept their promise. Now, the only reason why the U.S. has been able to stay so powerful with the Federal Reserve notes, aka a dollar bill, up to date, even though they were not backed by gold, which this BRICS nation, okay, these 5 countries, and what makes me most nervous, if I'm being honest, is if and when Iran and Afghanistan, big oil holders who have never been on the same team, they've always been against each other. Like I said, the Sunnis and the Shiites, we've seen the news and all of that. Okay, when you talk oil money, they've never been on the same team. And now China has essentially brokered a deal with the both of them that says, hey, look, here's why you guys should put your differences aside, because the big bad bully right now is the United States, and it has been the United States. And we need to understand that the United States has gone through their Pluto return. I believe it was at 27 degrees, if I wasn't mistaken. And so we're going to go back into Pluto in Capricorn this year at some point to finish up Pluto in Capricorn before we officially go 20 years into Pluto in Aquarius, where power struggles will happen with the people. I'm going to do a talk later on with Hannah Elsewhere. If anybody's familiar with her, drop a thumbs up. We're going to do it coming up May 8th. We'll do that live collab together, and we're going to talk about Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus, so I'm going to leave it alone for now. Now, what's major is Jupiter in Taurus is actually coming up as well. So big expansions of money, as well as people being overly zealous around what they currently have, which may or may not be safe by time Jupiter goes over Uranus in 2024. So this is something very interesting to just keep your heads open and eyes open for, because there will be a mass expansion of all the resources I'm talking now, primarily in this instance, gold and silver. Again, the main reasons of why is because they're not held by a third party. You have that in your hand, you own it. It's not like the bank and like credit and like your swiping credit card where you don't own that. Like if the banks crash today, you could lose out on a lot of money that you actually earned, your hard-earned money, and no one's going to come save you, and that's just the simplicity. Now, while the US dollar drops and crashes, whatever gold and silver you're holding at that time frame, you will maintain the value. And in fact, I likely believe that you will be one of the people who, if you were on the bottom and you never seem to have been able to make money and sustain money and grow your money, by having this gold and silver, when that dollar does crash, because I truly believe that it will, no matter what, there's a couple things that will happen. One, I've been saying this for years, and without understanding any of the financial knowledge I'm talking to you about now, but just one, when that happens, gold and silver and people who own it and hold it, it will shoot up. You will essentially amass a lot of money. Now, this is a mid to long-term investment, so do understand that. Like, you buy a bar of gold, it's not the easiest to trade in, right? Like, bars are a little bit tougher to trade in, for what I'm understanding, than a coin. Now, by trading a coin in, it's a little bit easier. You can get your money back a little quicker, a little sooner. But separate from that, this is a mid to long-term game. You really want to hold this, from what I'm understanding, at least from what I'm just feeling, and this is more intuitive, this is not logical in the moment. This could be years to at least a decade to two. And when I say a decade to two, there's a lot of things that needs to happen with Pluto, aka investments, all right? Other people's money, investing in something and gaining something in return. Pluto in Aquarius, this is the people's money, okay? So essentially, the people will have to go through a lot of difficulty and struggles when it comes to the resources that they have and what is helping them feel safe, secure, and also bringing and propelling them by giving them power to step into the future, okay? Aquarius. Now, second, and this is not to fearmonger, but it's to give you hope by being able to prepare yourself for what is to likely come. I remember being on an army base last year, and I was asking some soldiers, I said, do you believe that it's possible to have a civil war on U.S. territory? And I asked them, already feeling in my heart that I knew that there would be. Again, I didn't know how, I didn't know why, I don't know when. And what made me the most nervous was all the U.S. soldiers that I was at least communing with at the time were like, no, we have the most powerful military, that's never going to happen. And so now I understand better of why I felt that energy. And what it is when the dollar does destabilize and crash, essentially what happens is an internal civil war first. And this is where, a pride and an ego becomes its own worst enemy, where it could be a positive thing, but it also could become its own worst enemy, right? And what I mean by that is by even our own U.S. soldiers believing that a civil war can't happen on U.S. ground, it shows how immature and how young the U.S. is in history. Because at the end of the day, everybody, almost every country has been conquered. Almost every country has been colonized. Even the U.S. has been colonized. And how quickly have we forgotten that we murdered everybody on this land and took everything that they are worth? And that is likely going to happen for the U.S. And that's not to be in fear. That's to be aware and to be responsible with how do you handle your families. Do you stay in the U.S.? Where do you move if your U.S. dollar crashes? How will you adjust to central banks and their digital currencies as they switch and alter? Are you aware of the federal notes, aka the dollar, the green bills, and what the feds are doing to bypass laws that they have to not be able to take over and take control of your money, aka to create a central bank digitalized currency, which is going to happen somehow, some way. Somebody will find a bylaw and a by loop because it always happens. So just watch history. Understand that the U.S. has been known to not be integral for a very long time. And I actually pulled the U.S. chart today, and there was something that made it very clear to me. Okay. So first off, third house, the words, the speech that is being used is at the 16th degree, which is meaning the words are already hidden. Okay, the communication, the media, thank you for your thumbs up. The communication, the media has been hidden from, first off, okay, let me say this again. We have, in the U.S., the South Node is in Pisces at 16 degrees in the third house. Okay, this is the U.S. chart. So first things first, Neptune in Pisces in 2025, the illusion and delusion about faith, Christianity, and all the karma will come to an end, all right, in Neptune in Pisces. And essentially we will feel uplifted, but in order to feel uplifted, we must embrace the chaos. And right now that is actually gate 36, like I've been saying, and the shadow of gate 36 is turbulence. Now this turbulence is emotional. So this emotional turbulence is part of what's necessary. Essentially what I'm saying is the U.S. has always been set up to get broken down at some point. Every dog has their day. Now, separate from this, war, okay, we have Chiron and Aries on the U.S.'s chart. I don't know if you can see that well. You have Chiron and Aries in the U.S. chart, and this is in the 4th house. Now, what does that mean at the 12th degree? This means war, Aries, on domestic land, because 4th house is domestic land. Now, the question is, when? Well, we already have Chiron and Aries, okay, right now. And all this Aries energy went by, which is why the war feels like it's on the front step of the U.S. and the tension is rising, and the fears, which Mars or Aries energy can bring, the fears are saying, look, we want to handle and deal with this right now, right away. And that's really my warning for you, to understand that Aries is not just an impatient sign, but it's classically known to be so. And it's easier to fall into that because of confirmation bias. Why? Everyone already believes Aries is impatient. We must understand that Aries in the tarot is also the Emperor. And the Emperor is considered a patient card, because when you're in a position of being a king or a queen and running an empire, you don't have the choice to only think about yourself. You have to consider your people. Now, with that said, the U.S. and the way their ego is set up, let's check the sun. It stays hidden, okay? And it stays manipulative. The chart for the sun, the chart for the U.S. is actually at 12 degrees in the 7th house. So in business relationships and dealings, they truly do keep their stuff private, and they really do gaslight people. They make you notice about the U.S. They make you feel like you're everything. They make you feel like you're stepping into the land of the free. But in reality, they really keep isolated how they really feel from you and the people that they do business with. Okay, and this is where I'm saying again, like, emotional integrity has been shown over and over, that the U.S. does not really care about your feelings. Now, what's happening with this is this gaslight form of bullying has been happening globally, and this is why the BRICS is forming. Okay, Brazil, Russia, India, China being the main conglomerate, bringing all these people together. China has been making moves, ladies and gentlemen. And I remember I was in China, and I was the only one in line at the airport, the only one in line with 7 other foreign nationals from different countries. And they would not let us do TSA for about 45 minutes. And they checked everything. They were like, we want to see your Facebook. We want to see all of that stuff. And it's like, yo, it's really a communist country. And I think we lose track of that sometimes and how they really operate because, you know, so many people watching this channel might operate on a democracy, which, what does that really mean, right? All right, I got to close this blind. This sun is getting strong. So what I'm saying is, let me close my blinds, y'all, because this sun is cranking, bro. All right, bear with me. Hit the thumbs up in the meanwhile. I'm not saying this message for anybody, again, to fearmonger you. I'm actually trying to provide you hope, and the hope I'm trying to provide you is by being realistic. Okay, that's much better, because that sun was cooking my booty cheeks. Okay, so I'm looking at the U.S. chart. Okay, so you see here, you have Uranus in Gemini. So Uranus in Gemini hits in 2026. So by 2026, if I'm being honest, from then, and maybe even a couple years in 2026 to 2028 maybe, that's when I really feel like they'll find Gemini, it's air, it's mutable, they'll find the holes, they'll find the way to either then or by then. It may happen before, leading into it, okay? They'll find the loopholes. Gemini always finds a solution. And when you add Uranus steer, its solutions is coming very futuristic. It's working from a higher consciousness. And it's bringing a higher consciousness to the lower mind. So what that means is this is when I feel like central digital banks will start to already form by 2026. And this is when essentially your privacy, when it comes to banking and it comes to your own money, is gone. To be honest, I don't think we have a crap ton of privacy already now. But by then, this is when, you know, the whole talk of social and digital passports and more controlled narratives will happen. But that's going to be in the response to everything I'm saying now, because this is the thing. The U.S. is, if I'm talking about this with you, understand that they have their own experts that are trying to find a way to derail BRICS and this formation of 150 plus countries. Like, do understand that we're talking Indonesia, we're talking Venezuela, even though these 5 states that I mentioned, these 5 countries are the main ones, okay, they're just the big dogs. But what China is doing is they're harmonizing enemies. They're harmonizing everyone that the U.S. has bullied. Everyone. And the U.S. has bullied everyone. And the thing is, because they're Cancer in their chart, they've got a way, and they've kept private a lot of their karma that they've accrued. Okay. Mind games, bro. Like literally, I'm seeing Gemini in the 6th house. They be playing mind games. Sagittarius ascendant. Where's Scorpio? Let's see what they got. Part of fortune in Scorpio, part of fortune in investments. Virgo and Saturn. All right, so I'm gonna leave the U.S. chart alone for now. So if I get back to my point, whatever you do, when it comes in terms to investing in your bank account right now, what I really want to say is do prepare yourself to be aware of things like confirmation bias, where you know you've already believed something and you find information that support only your beliefs. Do your research. Be versatile. Expand outside of what seems like everyone is doing. Be aware of what everyone is doing and ask questions in the opposite direction. Always. What else? Let me roll my dice. Got my dice here. What do the people need to know today? Of course. Cancer, like I said, the U.S.'s chart in the 7th house. Their sun is in the 7th. Okay. It was in Venus. So Venus in Cancer. Okay. Venus in Cancer in the 6th house. That's what I got. Thank you for that thumbs up. So what this is telling me is, and I knew that Cancer season is about what? This is when the sun comes. June, July. By June, July, if I wasn't mistaken, Iran and Afghanistan are the two countries who are these big oil conglomerates who already feel that the U.S. betrayed them and left them to die against freedom fighters and everything else that the U.S. was doing while they were in Afghanistan, focusing and working on peace relations and maintaining agreements that they set up to protect oil owners and companies. Again, when we pulled them out, the U.S. also kind of signed a death warrant in their own way to their own citizens, because civil war is the likely breakout once the dollar actually destabilizes. This is really what all these other countries are trying to essentially do with this BRICS currency as they eventually form. Now, with that said, it's 2023 right now. I do want to make this very clear that BRICS, the earliest I've seen their formation was actually first in 2001. So 2001, that's already 22 years that they've been in existence, but no one has heard of them really until more recent. In 2006, they had their real first formation, okay? In 2009, it was 2006 in September. September 20th, I believe, was the meet in 2006. And then by the 15th or so of July in 2009, they had their first summit meeting. And now they're at their 15th summit meeting. They have a meeting every year now. And so BRICS has been around since. They have witnessed and probably even procured the 2008 financial crash that everyone has known, when the dollar did this and the real estate did this and the stocks did this. So understand that markets have been consistently manipulated pretty much all of our lives. That's not new. That's not new. What is new is that among all this manipulation, since about 1944, the dollar, after the Great Depression, the dollar has remained the #1 gold standard, even though they do not operate and they do not back their dollar by gold. It is paper. The big issue of why inflation is happening, and eventually if the dollar destabilizes, and why hyperinflation might occur, is because the U.S. just keeps printing money that they are already trillions of dollars in debt. Now, or probably more at this point, who knows? Now, the problem with that is we keep trading toilet paper for cash, and we keep gaining resources from other countries. Now, these other countries are starting to smarten up, because they were smart already, and they were like, why do we keep giving them rice, clothing, oil, gold, diamond, resources, cloth? Because understand, gold and diamond, one of the things that's beautiful is a lot of our devices, technological devices, use the resources of gold and silver, which is why it will maintain a value, and it is not conspiring with anyone else who can hold it. You can physically own it, and this is the major thing I want you to understand. Taurus likes to have physical money. I remember even like when I was in the serving industry, it's like I always liked having my money in my hand. I want my money in my hand. I don't care about the money that the digits say in the bank, because all of that is borrowed money. And the issue is the entire U.S. currency is a flop. So we're making bad trades, and we've been doing it for decades. And what I mean by bad trades is people are giving us their resources that are only growing in their homeland, and they're transporting it to us. And we're saying that you can only buy oil, which is the main Taurus resource. You can only buy oil in US dollars. But with people like Iran and Afghanistan, who are the biggest oil conglomerates, among Russia, who has their own oil as well, and other countries, when they now need to trade in gold, guess what? None of us are prepared. Whatever you have in your bank account, $50,000, $100,000, $2,000, $600, it will essentially be the same thing that happened to Venezuela, where when I was in Colombia, people would give out thousands of dollars to me. I'm not kidding. I'll be sitting outside of a restaurant. They'll give me thousands of Venezuelan dollars, whatever the currency is called. And they were poor. They were homeless. They were coming into Colombia from Venezuela. Their economy crashed. They were doing that because it was worth zilch. So what I'm saying is if BRICS succeed in getting these oil companies and other places that have their natural resources The Kenya is another one. Kenya is now trading shillings. They made a contract to trade their Kenyan shillings direct for their resources. I forget with who, I think China, but forgive me if it's not. They're not taking the US dollar anymore. Again, another reason why the US dollar dropped. So everyone else in the world is beginning to follow suit. And what's going to happen, and this is why the central bank in the US has bought the most amount of gold in 2022 than they ever have ever. So why would the US buy the most amount of gold than they ever have in the year 2022, last year, if their dollar itself, the US dollar, is not backed by gold? Why? Why did they begin doing this already in 2018? Why, before 2018, they already began to stock up on their gold in 2008 during the crash? Why? And why did no one ever tell anybody to do that? These are the questions we need to understand. If you watch this video from the beginning to now, you'll understand a good grasp of why, but there are plenty more experts out there. I'm just a gateway for you to do further research, okay, to get more educated on everything I'm saying. Again, I am not a financial advisor, but I think we're all smart enough to understand what I just said. So my point is, the average citizen in the US is going to be asked out. Yet the banks of the US already have enough gold to begin their next phase once the dollar completely gets dethroned, which will happen. When is a matter of when. And when that happens, if you're not holding these resources like gold or silver, I don't know what you're going to do. So again, I say none of this to be in fear. I say all of this to try to take these experiences, because I promise you, like, it was very sad to watch people play party tricks in Colombia with Venezuelan dollars. They did party tricks with money, thousands of dollars of Venezuelan cash worth zero. That can happen to the US. And when that happens, civil war will break out internally in the US. And the real issue with that is how many guns and AR-15s are stocked up and loaded? Why did the government already stock up an extra amount of AR-15s, automatic rifles, semi-automatic rifles, God knows what the hell it is. It's something that can do a lot of damage. It's to essentially protect themselves when the civil war does break out, because they know it's coming. And when a civil war breaks out, then the external war breaks out with the people outside of the country of the US. This is a very serious narrative. So I hope at bare minimum I gave you enough to do further research, further understanding. Everything I said, understand that the solar plexus is active in human design, so you do not want to act rash right now. You do not want to get out of control and just start saying, I'm going to put all my money in gold and silver. You want to do your research. You might want to versatile that. Mining stocks, okay? If we're talking gold and silver, guess what? We're talking mining stocks. This is something where I know that it's hitting dips, but understand, when you're talking investing in stocks, most times you want to buy on the dips, and then you win up. You win when it goes up, right? So all of this is about whatever extra money you have that it's just sitting in the bank. You know how much money of yours just sits in the bank, doesn't multiply, doesn't do anything. That's the amount of money that when you get your basic resources, you can pay your rent, you can buy your groceries, you can buy your gas, whatever it is you need. The extra money outside of your bases, as well as a simple extra emergency fund. I guess years ago, the bare minimum recommended for an emergency fund was about $1,000 to $2,000 in your savings, at least from what I can remember. After having at least that, and then probably even a little bit more, anything outside of that, start incrementally putting your chips in, because most of the websites that are credible right now are already saying $500 minimum to buy gold and silver. Minimum. Now, you can also find a couple, and that didn't used to be. They didn't used to be that minimum. You used to be able to just buy it. Now, some of the sites are saying about $199 for the minimum. So if you have at least $200, you can start. And the key term with this is start stacking. And when they say stacking, this is an incremental buy. You get a couple paychecks, put that $200 in and put the rest of the, to your whatever you got to pay, and put a little $200 because it's just your minimum that you can do right now. Like literally, let's be honest, it's the minimum. So even if it's just $200 and you have a little extra change, instead of spending that on drugs or God knows something that you're just throwing into the garbage can, okay, based off of fun and adventure and excitement. You can take adventures for free. I promise you. You can take adventures for no cost. Start putting that little $200 to the side and buy incrementally. That's just what I'm personally saying. Again, it's not financial advice. I just think it's a sound statement. So, a sound opinion. I'm not even going to say statement. None of this is financial advice. Start putting a little 200 here, a little 200 there. Start gaining some physical material resources, and I guarantee Taurus in your chart will be very happy. Look at your 8th house in your chart and understand how you invest. Look at your 2nd house. Look at your Taurus. Look at your Scorpio, because the North Node is in Taurus. So all of us in this instance are being geared towards having physical assets that can't be leveraged against you. And that's the key, because everything in your credit can. So, ladies and gentlemen, hit the thumbs up and the likes button. I hope this supported you somehow, some way. I hope this put hope into your heart that if you had financial worries and fears, that at least it gives you some sort of direction that you can do further research. Okay, I'm telling you, if anything, to do further research. I'm telling you, I'm not a financial advisor. But if you're looking to hear more around the astrology around some of this finance, I do intend to start following it a little more closely and implementing it, especially if I get good feedback that that's something that's going to benefit y'all. If not, I'm still going to do it for myself, quite frankly, because why not? And I want to say I love you. Thank you for being here. Don't be in fear. This is not what this message is about. Find yourself hopeful, because I find if you do this, and you take heed to this, and you do your research, that the medium to long-term gain, which could be years to decades of you holding this material, by the time the dollar crashes, and I'll try to get you more clean, clear dates of when that dollar might crash. Pluto in Capricorn is a big one, and it's going retrograde soon. That's a big one of why it's going to crash. Hit the thumbs up and the likes button. Hit the thumbs up and the likes button. And the reason is because the U.S. has been out of integrity. Now, the key thing with this is when you look at places like Singapore, I've been there, and it's like you can't do nothing. I think you can't even drink water on the subway. Their laws are very strict. They will find you. They will throw you in jail. They're very much built their economy on integrity. And what I mean by that is, when I'm understanding this BRICS nation, the approach they're going to look to take is to live and work in integrity. So this might actually be good for the people, Aquarius. And I'm gonna check that comment in a second. This might actually be very good for the people when I say Aquarius and Pluto and Aquarius, but it could take time, because we're gonna have to go through some power a shift in power. Okay, by the time Pluto and Aquarius is done 20 years later and it implodes and it does the same thing it did in Capricorn, I truly feel we're gonna be happy, and all those who have maintained integrity between 2008 when Pluto and Capricorn began until 2044. I don't know when the hell Pluto was out of Aquarius. What year is it right now? 2023, 20 years, 2020, 2044. So from 2008 to 2044, if you took that 35 years or so and you stayed true to yourself, you stayed integral, you're likely going to have guap, buco dollars, buco money, buco resources, buco assets. And it's like, don't think about, well, I'm broke now, I have no money now. Like, how is that ever going to happen? It's like gate 35, which is making a 4-channel to gate 36, is all about change. And it uses the emotional turbulence and the chaos and people going through these flares and these eclipses, which are bringing us completely sideways, and another one coming May 5th in Scorpio, full moon, and investments, okay, shared money, other people's resources, Scorpio, full moon. It's like all of this wave of energy is creating change, because gate 35 is the gate of change, and all the emotions is helping us to get out of our mind and making decisions from the mind and thinking more like dolphins in the pod mind concept. Now, when I say pod mind, I'm talking being able to be an individual, but when you individuate, you share the message with the group. So right now, there's a prime example. As I individuate and share with you what going through my side, my life as an individual, what I'm considering, it's about sharing it with you, the group, the people, Aquarius. And I find that if you do that, and especially a key word is integrity, if you do that and you do that in integrity, it doesn't matter what your bank looks like now. I promise you, all the little men are going to come out on top. All the people who have been suffering for decades, or even maybe your whole life, you're going to come off on top. But that's not going to happen because you do nothing. We're going to have to embody the energy of Taurus and feel abundant, and embody the energy of Gemini, which is boundless, and take an adventure and be more unconditional with the way in which you love, and the way in which you share, and the way in which you commune, and the way in which you adapt. Be unconditional in all those key words that I just said, the way in which you express compassion, okay, and support unconditionally humanity, even if it's just energetically wishing somebody good, even if it's just you wishing me well, right? That comes back to you energetically, where life will just give you the guidance to say, hey, okay, go make this investment. Hey, okay, put a little dollar here. Hey, okay, get this resource, because in 2 more years, you're going to be happy you did. If you listen to the wind, it's carrying messages. So I had one comment. Let me check that before I go. Yes, thank you for this much. I've been in deep thought about what you still in the world. Come and get prepared now. Yeah, we're all needing stability. We all care about stability. And with Mars and Cancer, we just must be very careful about our ancestors, our mother, our parents, and whatever their fears were, and how did they act to behave in crisis. Because a lot of them just buckled down and took more of a scarce mindset and said, you know, these are my chips, these are my coin, these are my resources, this is my family, and they locked up, and they became, you know, in fear of losing their house, or allowing the emotion, and they allowed the emotions to consume them. Now, the key theme with this is a nostalgic pattern. We cannot trust our emotions. Our emotions, we need to go through the wave to create the change and align our solar plexus, align our ambitions, align with no longer being power hungry. But the key thing is emotions are also not to be trusted. They must be, you know, held and supported and guided by the logic, by the intelligence. And this is the merging of the divine masculine, the divine feminine, right? We need to really work and operate with both. We can't just make these emotional buys and these emotional investments. And if I use my personal experience, like I did this last year with some crypto type investments, and I lost a couple $1,000 just emotionally looking at it and trying to rush and think, oh, I got to get in on this now. I know it's a volatile project, but because it's volatile, my gains would be so high. So I'm gonna put this couple thousand and I'm gonna get at least 10,000 back, but I got to do it now. And it's like what I want to show and highlight for y'all, if I didn't say it enough in this message, is that's exactly what you don't want to do. Learn from my mistake in that. You want to be patient. You want to be logical. You want to be wise. And you don't want to operate off of the rapid and impatient instincts of the peers who are making emotional decisions around you in the ways in which they invest. You want to be wise. You want to use this emotional change that's being brought to all of us as we embrace compassion and a healthy sense of self, a healthy sense of ego, a healthy sense of self, where we're not manipulating. We have to stop manipulating emotion. We have to stop gaslighting others. We have to start looking deep at our own internal world and address these fears, address our security needs. What did I get right here? And when I moved too fast today, I wasn't patient. Yeah. I wasn't patient. I would face obstacles. Absolutely. This is exactly what I'm trying to give people hope with. Like, there's no need to move quickly right now. There's no need to move fast. In fact, it's every reason to pause, feel the emotion, feel the shock, feel the worry, feel the anxiety, check your bank accounts, and start doing your research. Start diving deep. Because South Node in Scorpio was also saying, Scorpio research, it's like research the past. Research what research has worked. Research what research has not worked. Okay? Scorpio is research. It's not just investments. You have to start watching YouTube videos, start looking up. And that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I'm not an expert in this, but I'm wise enough to watch a video. And I can also tell you that there are certain fears that I had to even look at what the prices of gold and silver were. I was nervous to even look at it. I was like, oh man, but I had to start really looking logically and think, these are my ancestors' fears, to invest in something other than a 9-to-5 job and going to be a slave to work for $1 that's worth toilet paper. I'm telling you, it's worth toilet paper. And there's an analogy about toilet paper, ironically, around when the toilet paper roll is full, you don't really know how much you're using. It's not until it gets closer to the cardboard or the toilet paper that it seems like it's going to run out and you're going to be left with only the cardboard and you're going to have to wipe your ass with the cardboard piece. I've been there before. I've actually done that at some point in my life. And my point of what I'm saying is, you know, don't overestimate or underestimate, whatever the proper word is in the moment, when you have that full roll of toilet paper, how it's still unraveling. You're still losing part of your product. So what I'm saying is by doing nothing and maintaining your lifestyle the way you are and making no different investment, eventually that toilet paper will run out. And when it gets close to the edge, this is when the panic and the worry begins to happen. And we start wanting to be in this scarce mindset. But if there's anything I've learned in life is when you get into a mindset of scarcity and you start holding things close, what you do is you actually cut off yourself from the world and you cut off yourself from financial abundance. The currency, when you start trying to hold your money and your chips close to your chest and you go, well, I'm just going to isolate and insulate and everybody outside of me, I have enough to take care of myself, which is what a lot of these countries are doing right now, is going to be a part of their downfall, because a lot of countries are doing a part of that. I'm not going to lie. They're starting to think, well, it's every man for themselves. I got to look out for myself. It's not a compassionate and a universal loving mindset. Essentially, they're repeating what their predecessors have done. And that's not the solution. Personal opinion, it's not the solution. So be mindful of holding things too closely and be mindful of being too impatient and acting too quickly. Be methodical. Be systematic. Do your research. Take some solid steps in a direction. When you get stable, meditate, do your breath work, go to the ocean, take a bath, cleanse yourself, okay? Water helps tremendously with the mind and intellectual process, but too much water can get you to make that emotional decision and start to act out of fear and scarcity and anxiety, and that's what you do not want to do. I want everybody to hear this very clear. You do not want to act out of anxiety. You do not want to let